Yeah, I'm Bill Basford, and I was a member of the first City Council of Consolidation. And prior to that, I was in the state legislature. I was also on the county commission that went out when consolidation came in.
And now 50 years later, after that government was installed, what do you think?
Well, the impressive thing is that when I wrote the Consolidation Study Bill, we wanted it very independent of elected officers and others in the old crowd, so to speak. And so we made it vivid in the statute that it would be a citizens study committee, and I think that was successful because those of us on the outside who had a special reason for influencing, even the legislators or anyone, I mean, we made it totally intolerant. And the only one thing that went wrong is each of us appointed 7 members to the original study commission. And among my appointments were Bill Birchfield, Marion Sweet, president of the Atlantic Bank, and Brad Tredenick, who was in the insurance business. And then I had Nancy Crabb, who was active locally, helping some of us get elected, and Mary Singleton, who was a wonderful appointment. Her husband Isidore caught me knocking on doors one day out there, and I didn't have any of the paid tickets, and Hayden Burns and all that crowd weren't supporting me, and I guess I was too hard-headed and independent for them. But he introduced me. He had invited me over to his house. He introduced me to Mary, and Mary and Nancy, as you know, both were elected to the city council of the new consolidated government. But the only thing that disappointed me was that each of us had 7 appointments of the 7-member delegation. The thing that bothered me was that by consensus, we chose Marion Sweet. We chose Jim Lumpkins, president of State Bank, as the first chairman of the executive committee and consolidation study. And one day I had lunch with him. We were going across the Main Street Bridge, and he turned to me and says, "How do you think consolidation's going?" I said, "Well, remember, naive me, I said, you weren't supposed to be listening to any of us." And I said, "You're the chairman, you tell me." Well, he didn't say anything. We got down to the parking lot of the State Bank, and he turns to me and he says, "The reason I didn't tell you, I was afraid you would wreck the car and we'd end up in the river." And I said, "Well, what are you talking about?" He says, "I'm no longer chairman." I said, "Why not?" He said, "My boss told me to. My boss has told me so." And so J.J. Daniel is quite often listed as the original chairman. He was not. But they put together a very good plan. The only disappointment I had, I was worried that the size of the new government, because one of the things I'd advocated to start this, I'd advocated the tax collector and the property appraiser be combined to be more fiscal conservative, and I was pretty much that. And I was fearful that the size of the new government may not adhere to that preference. But all in all, I must admit that the study committee did a good job with it. The mayor had great additional powers, but the city council was set up to control the purse string because they were individually elected around the community and could speak for the people. And we've had some good presidents and some not so good presidents. I don't think that Taj Mahal Courthouse speaks too well for fiscal conservatives, but all in all, I think we've had a pretty good group, and I liked most of them.
So after the new government was designed, there was an election.
Yep.
To determine whether the voters were going to say yes or no.
I don't think we want that one.
So,
excuse me.
So after the new government was designed, there was an election, and the voters had a chance to vote yes or no.
Yep.
On this new consolidated government.
Yep.
They voted yes overwhelmingly.
Yeah, they're pretty solid.
August 1967.
Yep, August 8th.
Then there was a period of time where the new government was getting elected. elections to elect the first mayor and 19-member city council.
Yep.
And then the government was installed on October 1, 1968.
Right.
What are your recollections of that period of time?
It seemed to go fairly smooth. There was a lot of talk, of course, about the former government officials that didn't do so well with the law when they were convicted of things, and of course that encouraged the people to get rid of those crooks. And this is not a pleasant side of it, but Jacksonville's minority population was growing and reaching the point that it might be that it could have some representation of minorities in the city government, and in the county they were people out there who were concerned about it. So some people did it to avoid that. I'm trying to avoid any unpleasant words or aspect of it, but there was some there were some racist votes involved.
Well, to the extent that anyone 50 years later is unhappy with consolidation, do you think it's consolidation or some of the people elected to public office under consolidation?
It probably is some of the elected people. But overall, the council in the past has worked together rather well. We didn't let D's and R's getting in our way back then, and that seems to create some problems, and more so on a national and state level than the local.
Was there any thought to having the government be nonpartisan?
I tried it, and I won't say who, but someone who could have helped make that effective. After I left office, when we were talking about the D's and R's, and the community was becoming more R's than D's, not totally, but moving in that direction for a more conservative government. Back when Republicans could say they were fiscal conservatives, but you won't see it in Washington with $21 trillion in national debt. But Jake was my favorite, and I was president of the city council at that time, and we worked very well together, even when I raised taxes. But the gas tax, everybody was doing the optional gas tax except Duval County, and when I found out that gas at Gate Petroleum south of the border was Putnam or someplace was as expensive as it was in Jacksonville, I went to see him. And Herb Payton, when I asked him about it, I said, well, where's that money going? He stood up and jingled his pocket. And he says, Basford, if you politicians are too stupid to think it, you think we're going to turn it down? And I called him as I was headed back to the city hall, and you don't want me on some damn committee? I said, no, Herb, you're going to be chairman of the committee. Well, I think he was so stunned that he didn't say no. But we tried to reach out to the press and to the people and explain it was for roads and bridges, and it was earmarked for that purpose. And as you know, it was recently renewed, and of course it increased over time, and it's brought in billions of dollars. But this last one, they did earmark 1 penny for the ferry to make sure it was financially secure. But I do get concerned from time to time that the fiscal conservative attitude that a lot of people are inspired by getting consolidation hasn't always held true, as we can tell by the pension taxes coming in 2031 for my grandchildren and great-grandchildren and on to pay for, while $1 billion more estimated costs for it, and they put it off to penalize the little people in the future. That isn't appropriate. They borrowed the money, they should have had the guts to pay for it.